After a few days of cruising the Nile River, we arrived in the city of Luxor, where we're going to explore the temple complex of Karnak, one of the country's most famous and grandest sites, located on the east bank of the Nile River. Luxor is a place of major historical and cultural importance in Egypt, since this is where the ancient city of Thebes used to be located, the seat of power to many of Egypt's pharaohs.
Good morning, welcome back to Egypt. Today we are in Luxor and we're going to explore the famous Karnak temple and see a bit of downtown Luxor.
Yes, we are. And maybe you're now thinking, if you're coming from the last video or if you've seen the last video where we were on the cruise boat from Aswan to Luxor, you may be thinking, wasn't this video supposed to be part 2 of the cruise? But actually,
it was supposed to be.
It was supposed to be, but I actually got a really bad stomach bug at the end of the day that we filmed previously.
Yeah.
So at the end of Naick's birthday, and I was so sick that I was in bed all day or on the bathroom all day the next day, so I couldn't do anything. I couldn't lift my head off the pillow, let alone film anything. So now is 1 week later.
Yeah.
And
Kim spent a week recovering. Now she's feeling almost fully better.
Almost fully better.
But today, exploring Karnak. Really excited because it's one of the most famous. It's actually the most famous and the most important temple in all of Egypt. So
yeah, it is.
Let's go.
And it may look like this bit here used to be a river that has now dried up, like part of the Nile stream, but it's actually this huge, very long row full of Sphinx statues that used to run
all the way from the Karnak temple to the Luxor temple, and between the two they made this lane with all these sphinxes let's say every 5 meters. It's about 3 kilometers, so that's 3,000 meters, so that's about 600 sphinxes on each side, so it's more than 1,000 sphinxes lining the way all the way from Karnak to the Luxor temple. How incredible is that?
Bought our tickets. They're 200 Egyptian pounds each, which is about 12 euros, $14 just about. They give you entrance to the Karnak temple and open air museum of Luxor. Temple's right over there. It looks like it's gonna be pretty crowded today because just a few tour buses arrived outside right before we came in. But it's supposed to be a huge site. I think it covers over 2 square kilometers or something.
We made it to the entrance of the Karnak temple complex. In front of this we have a row of sphinxes with the ram heads. I think the ram head symbolizes the god Amun-Ra, for which the main temple here was built, but it's really cool. I mean, just look at this, it's just lined with sphinxes everywhere. I'm ready to go in. I'm really excited to see this. Look at how big the statue is.
It's pretty big. It's several times me big.
I mean, this is like in the entrance of the temple, and can you imagine, like 1,500? No, it's more. It's 3,000 to 3,500 years ago. You would come here and walk into this temple complex and have these huge statues, and then see this giant temple complex behind you. I mean,
the thing is, you would never actually walk into it because apparently we learned, we also watched the documentary, so we're all educated now about the history of ancient Egypt.
Experts, Egyptologists.
Apparently the only people who were allowed in here were the pharaoh, the rulers of the time, and like the priests. And the more authority you had, the deeper you could go into the temple complex. So the higher you ranked as a priest, the deeper you were allowed to go into the temple. What's really interesting about this hall is that it's not like it's a hallway lined with pillars. It's just a maze of pillars. I mean, look around me, there are pillars everywhere. It's like a gigantic courtyard filled with huge pillars.
Yeah, it's incredible. I mean, these huge stone pillars, and all of them have these beautiful inscriptions still on them. Like the bottom part is like quite damaged, probably due to water, I guess. But like there's still a very good part that's like very well preserved. I mean, for a temple that's over 3,000 years old.
Looks pretty good.
Incredible.
And apparently the deeper the inscriptions were engraved into the columns, the more important it was to the pharaoh that the pharaohs coming after him, that one saying, for example, that the pharaohs after him could not carve out his inscriptions,
Just look at these,
and that they
they're
would be
like
kept
very
forever.
But up there, I mean, they must be like at least 5 centimeters deep. So indeed, this whole temple complex of Karnak, it was built by 30 different pharaohs. So they started off with, I think what's here, the main temple here, but then they started adding things and more columns and more things. And yeah, some of the pharaohs were like, yeah, I want my name on everything, I want my signs on everything. So they just scratch off the old ones and then make newer ones that were deeper.
As you walk out of the Great Hypostyle Hall, you have this gigantic obelisk here. I don't know how high it is. And the special thing about those is actually that they used to be carved entirely out of one single piece of rock. So it's not several pieces put together, it's a single piece of rock. And if they did something wrong and the stone cracked, they would have to start all over again.
Probably they didn't get the chance to start over again. What are these people like? Probably they didn't get the chance to start over again because, I mean, it would mess up such an artwork like this. Probably it would disappear into the dungeons of the pharaoh. Wow, just look at all these statues, it's incredible. On this side they're a little bit broken up, but on this side, right here, they're still pretty intact. So many sculptures.
So the ancient city of Thebes used to be very important in the ancient Egyptian empire, but at some point the pharaohs, one of the pharaohs, decided to move the seat of power of the kingdom to another spot in Egypt, and at that point the city began to crumble. For years and years, sand was just piling up in the temple. There were storms, there were floods, everything was in a little bit of ruins and left in a rumble. And then at some point, I think it's around the time Napoleon first came to Egypt, they discovered that there was this magnificent temple complex, that there were all these magnificent ruins around Thebes in Egypt, and they started restoring them. Locals used to herd their sheep in the temple complex at that point, so it really wasn't used.
Yeah, even
for
some
stuff.
homeless people lived here, a bit like they use it a bit like a cave to live in, stuff like
Yeah.
that. But it's not so easy because to like really see how the structure used to be. I mean, there's still like very big structural parts here. It's like only half of it remains. It's like difficult to see like which parts were rooms or courtyards or like smaller temples. So it's not so easy to imagine it yourself. So maybe it's good if you take a guide. I mean, 1 hour of guiding here at the entrances costs 100 Egyptian pounds, which is like €6, $7. So very, very affordable. But let's go see and have a look at the main part, the heart of the Amun-Ra temple. We're kind of like pharaohs now. I mean, only the pharaohs, like the highest priests in all of Egypt could enter here. Otherwise you would be decapitated probably. Incredible, so much history here. Can you imagine like all the important people in history that have stood here? Like all of the like main pharaohs like Ramses III. I was gonna say Tutankhamun, but I think it maybe was before that, but like some of the really important pharaohs
people.
and rulers standing here,
And right
praying
here
to the gods.
used to be the statue of the god Amun-Ra.
Yeah, this was the main statue of god Amun-Ra. Where is it now? It's probably in a museum somewhere or just stolen. You can see all these inscriptions on the wall, inscriptions on the ceiling.
So this next hall that we have right here is very different to the last one. It's a lot smaller in scale. It's not as impressive in some way, but it's a lot more colorful. I think like the paintings on the reliefs have been a lot better preserved.
Because the roof is still there. I mean, it hasn't been exposed to the elements that much. You can also still see like some of the inscriptions are still colored, like some of the blues, you can see some greens. On the ceilings you can see these like big surfaces that are still blue. They're really impressive. This like gives some insight on how the temples actually were, and I would guess probably most of it was like completely colored, like very colorful on the inside.
Here we see an ancient ritual dating back all the way to ancient Egypt, where people apply white stuff so they don't burn in the sun. It's pretty warm outside actually today. I think it's like 27, 28 degrees Celsius.
Yeah, it's really nice.
And the sun here in Egypt is like burning, crispifying my very pale skin, my very pale European skin. So 50. The most white you can stay.
Part of this temple was dedicated to the holy snail god. See? You can see him here with his noodly appendage and his two whiskers. No, it's not whiskers, antennas.
Whiskers.
That's right. If you would get on his bad side, you would end up in a very, very slimy death. Some sunscreen in my eyes. I mean, eye hurts a little bit. Or I just pissed off the holy snail god and he's like already starting to slime me. Maybe you should like take a small rock. I mean, there's plenty of rocks here.
Oh yes, let's just put it in the backpack.
Yeah.
I don't see how this can go wrong.
No, I mean, they have just a few rocks. They have plenty.
They have plenty.
For this reason, exactly, they scan your bags when you're leaving Egypt. So.
Oh really?
Yeah. People have been
then we need
fined and imprisoned just for taking like some small stuff
then
here.
We need to empty one of the small day packs before we go.
Uh-oh. Wow, just look at this entrance gate. So much carving here.
Literally all of the faces have been carved out of these hieroglyphs, probably by subsequent pharaohs. And the rest of these carvings is perfectly intact, so that's really done on purpose.
Yeah. And just right behind this beautiful gate is the temple of... Oops. Wait, what? Wait, just 1 second. The temple of Khonsu, which was the son of Amun-Ra. So this is a temple dedicated to the sun, and then on the other side of the Amun-Ra complex you have the temple dedicated to the wife of Amun-Ra, which she was called Mut. It's almost 5:30 now and the place is closing. Almost nobody left, which is pretty nice. The other very famous temple here is the one we mentioned earlier, Luxor. We're gonna head down to the Luxor temple. We're not going to visit it, although it's open until 9 or 10 o'clock, so you can visit it pretty much anytime. We're gonna show you a really beautiful view that we discovered by accident of those temples, so we're gonna go head there now. Where do you think the exit is?
Pretty sure. We've come to Cafe Latte, which is a cafe in downtown Luxor. Look at the view you have here. I mean, it's right next to the Luxor temple. It's just crazy that in a city of over 500,000 people, they have these ruins right in the city center. Anyway, we came here a couple of times to do some editing over the past week. Ordered a waffle with Nutella and some vanilla ice cream. It's really, really good. I think I've earned it after a long sightseeing day.
Kim, that's my half. Ow!
If you enjoyed this video, even if you enjoyed it like nearly half as much as I enjoyed this little Nutella pancake with ice cream, make sure to hit the like button, subscribe if you don't want to miss out on the next couple of videos. Still have a few more things planned here in Egypt before we move on to India, so a lot of more travels to come. While Naick is finishing the waffle, I'm gonna steal this green juice over here.
Hey, it's my juice!
So make sure to subscribe and we will see you in the next one. Bye bye.
Bye.